Meanwhile, to further unpack the thaw that has taken place and the complete change as far as the New Delhi-Washington relationship is concerned, it saw a seesaw in the last 60-odd months. There is fresh momentum to it. What really lies ahead? And what are the key takeaways of the G7 summit? USISPF President and CEO Mukesh Aghi joins us on India Sense to really decode that for us and to unpack why this is so significant. Dr. Aghi, thanks so much for speaking to me on India Sense. Let me start first and foremost by asking you about the all-important meeting between Prime Minister Modi, President Trump. The focus entirely of the leadership on both sides was on getting that trade deal going.
Well, you have to look at from a trade perspective, two touch points. One is the actual trade and where is the treaty. On the actual trade, the numbers are going up and up, both sides. So regardless of treaty or no treaty, the trade growth between the two countries continues in a positive trajectory.
Okay.
Now, where do we stand on the trade deal? I think they are the last leg of negotiation. And that's why the USTR Chief Jamieson Greer is coming next week into India to see if he can close whatever the outstanding issues are. I believe it'll get closed. It's just a matter of time. But regardless of trade deal or no deal, the trade continues in a positive trajectory between the two countries.
Everybody, in fact, Sergio Gore, the U.S. ambassador, is on record saying that 99% is done. It's just 1% that's left. In your assessment, will that 1% be done by what many are saying would be the July timeline?
So the two issues, one is India's desire to have preferential tariffs. That means India should have lower tariff than its neighbor. That's what India's request is. And at the same time, the U.S. is saying, open up the agriculture market, which India has said is a red line. So those are the two issues which are holding up the situation at the moment.
In terms of specific outcomes from the G7 summit, there were a very important set of bilaterals as well. What, according to you, really stood out?
Well, I think the highlight is, number one is for the Prime Ministers to reconnect with the President. That was very important because they had not met for some time. That was very, very important. Two is they talked about issues, not only just about trade, but energy security, Middle East, and definitely China and US relationship, G1, G2, whatever, you can discuss it. I think it's important that while there were no concrete signing which came out, there was no concrete statement which came out, but overall, it was a very, very basically mutually agreed discussion between the two leaders. And so I think the touch point was the most critical aspect where Prime Minister did raise the issue of Indian 3 sailors getting killed. The President talked about the Middle East, that how it's going to open up. It's going to really help India on energy security. So overall, it was positive discussion, but nothing solid which was announced between the two leaders.
Which brings me to ask the backdrop in which this entire conversation that took place between the two leaders, which is the US-Iran conflict coming to an end. And that, of course, has direct ramifications for India, doesn't it? Whether it's our energy, whether it's our fertilizers, all of it stands to get impacted positively for us. Your thoughts there on how it really changes the overall landscape from an economic point of view for India?
Well, I think first is you have to look at it from geopolitical perspective. What we are seeing is that Iran seems to be getting a lot of benefits on this MOU signed between US and Iran. That's number one. They will get large amount of infusion of capital. They will get access to the global market. And at the same time, their relationship with GCC countries has been put under strain and stressed because they attack those countries itself. I think from an India perspective, we do expect the energy prices to go down. In fact, this morning we saw the oil barrel price has dropped to $76. And we expect if Iran keeps on taking its exports, which was roughly around 2 million barrels to a higher number, then you have flood of oil in the market by next year itself. But more important is from a India perspective, it has learned one hard lesson that it has to diversify its energy import from Strait of Hormuz, whichever comes out. So I think overall, India will come out better from this stress point. Yes, it had to go through a pain point of the last few months on its LNG, LPG, and crude oil import. But I think going forward, you will see India diversifying its energy resources from the region itself.
Okay, finally, I have to ask you this, that, there's so much of focus on trade. With a potential trade deal likely to be finalized in the next couple of weeks, where does the focus then shift for both US and India?
Well, you have to look at the relationship between India and US is definitely on the trade side, but it's also a technology partnership. It's on the critical mineral partnership. It is on the energy security. It is on geopolitics between the two, partnership between the two countries. It's on people to people. You have around 6 million Indian Americans in the US. So we see a lot of efforts being put in those arenas because those are, I call, the stability factor between the two countries. And so you'll see tremendous amount of energy and effort being put into those arenas. You have to understand that for Indian economy to keep on going 7.5% to 8% or 9%, it will need FDI. It will need capital, and that capital, substantial amount of the capital, will come out from the US itself. So that means talking to the institutional investments, talking to the basically VCs to explore India as a potential investment. So I think you will see a lot of effort being put in to ensure FDI coming in, technology coming in, and so we see a stronger partnership taking place between the two countries as we move forward.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. Dr. Aghi, thanks so much for joining me on this edition of India Sense.